Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
We would prefer to not have kids on the continuum of risk, if at all possible. But we recognize that's not possible because kids are kids, and there's many, many, many reasons why they choose to do different types of things. I started saying that, we wish, at least from the FDA's perspective, that kids were not entering into the continuum of harm, but once they're there, how do we care for them? And, our messaging is prevention based. And so we're trying, we certainly acknowledge that teens are teens and that they are experimenters. If we get asked a specific question by a teen, either a direct message to us or via social media about the relative harms of vaping versus cigarettes, we try to be as clear as possible that if your comparator is a cigarette, vaping is less harmful. But vaping alone, especially if you've never been a cigarette user, vaping alone is not benign. And so we try to give them that frame of reference. And what I would say is kids are incredibly smart. I'm sure both of these gentlemen, I'm sure, see that. And they have a crap detector a mile wide. Like if we were to message proactively to teens that vaping is not as harmful as smoking, there are people on both sides of that argument, right? One is you could be just give them the facts and let them make the decisions. The other side of the argument is then you're getting rid of all the protective factors and you're kind of giving them license to use. And so, we have not tried to tackle that directly in any of our proactive messaging. But when we get questions specifically in social or direct message, that's when we have that one-on-one dialogue.
Right.
Well, hello. Let me double check. Let me double check my settings because I want to make sure that I sound lovely and sexy to you. No, maybe not sexy, but at least somebody worth paying attention to. You see, I'm looking all like scruffy. I need to go to the spa. I need a spa day. Somebody start a GoFundMe so that I can go to a spa day and get my skin care taken care of. But hello, and welcome to Son of Liberty Radio. I am currently by myself. Kevin is boomering. Kevin is boomering. He has the link. He sent me a message saying that he's fighting the computer or something. He's having a death match behind the scenes over there, and eventually he'll show up. But we can still have a conversation. We can still talk about things. I'm very upset this week, and this is moderately not vaping related, but probably could be vaping related. It's politics, and Kevin sent it to me because he knew it was going to piss me off when I saw it, and it did. So I had to reply. I had to reply to it. I had to have an argument with somebody on Twitter, and because I'm not an important person, but I'm still going to share it with you anyway, because this is where we are in our current. And you see, I have to wear wired headphones today because I forgot to charge the Bluetooth ones, and they were only 30% charged. But anyway, back to so this woman, not in my state, but in Florida, is running for Congress. And you guys, and I know, we know that I have a particular direction that I go when it comes to politics. I am not on dial-up connection. I am currently I am on the wired connection. I will quadruple check my internet connection just to make sure that that you're wrong, David Lloyd. You're wrong. But anyway, let me deal with this real quick because yeah, see, I'm on the Ethernet. See, you're crazy. You're crazy. I'm on the Ethernet. So anyway, this particular person is running for Congress out of Florida. And again, I don't care if you're an R or a D or an L or what a G, if you're Green Party, I literally don't care. But I do demand that if you're running for Congress, that you at least have some intelligence. And this woman does not have any intelligence. And I'm going to share with you because I'm just beside myself with the level of idiocy that we have in our representative system. So anyway, this is a woman. Her name is Laverne Spicer. She is a Republican congressional candidate for Florida 24. She says, I've been fighting to better my community my entire life, and I'll never stop. Support my campaign at Laverne 2022. So I'm showing you that because there's a tweet right here. This is her tweet. She says, there are no pronouns in the Constitution, period. Now, I know that there is a particular I don't know, trend in social media and to use the word pronouns in a manner that is counter to what they are intended for. But anyway, so because she does down here, she does self-identify herself as she, her in this following tweet now, or in this reply down here. But she says there are no pronouns in the Constitution. Now, I am of the grammar, and it's not popular to say this, but the grammar Nazi persuasion. Grammar is very important, and I am not self-identifying as a Nazi in any other way. In the fact that I do want you to speak properly and speak in relatively good grammar. But she says there are no pronouns in the Constitution. So I'm pretty sure that most of you are aware of the U.S. Constitution, which I have professed many times on this show to absolutely love and adore the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. So the U.S. Constitution is a wonderful document. And if you know anything about the U.S. Constitution, except I'm trying to type and do multiple things here, it clearly is a wonderful document. I'm gonna bring up an actual image of the real, what, not printed, like not like retyped and in different font, an actual image of the U.S. Constitution. I'm gonna blow it up really big. I'm gonna open this image in a new tab. I'm gonna rub it. I'm gonna pre-rub it so that it is quite sure that you guys can see it. I'm gonna make it 200% larger, and I'm gonna show it to you. Now, this is it right here. You see this? It says, "We the people." Now, those of you that are English speakers or if you're born and English is your second language, but I'm sure you understand what a pronoun is. A pronoun is we. So there's no pronouns in the U.S. Constitution, and the very first word on the U.S. Constitution is we, which is a pronoun. So I don't care if Laverne Spicer is a Republican or a Democrat, but she's a Republican. But I had to retweet her, and I said, "Have you ever read the Constitution? The first word is we." Now, throughout the document, there are numerous times that they, them, and their are listed. He, him, and his are all over the document. And those are also all pronouns. So anyway, just for the edification of me and me alone, I may be the only person that is interested in this topic or making a point. There are pronouns in the Constitution because it is written in proper English. And to write any document in English, you actually need pronouns. So anyway, back to the show. I see there's people here, and they're over here talking about why is he talking about this? But okay, so Tom is here and Omicidal's here. I already spoke to Dave because he said that my internet was weak or whatever, but I'm hardwired in. And I already said I'm Omicidal. And Mallory showed up there, and Robin is here, and Richard Pruin is here, and Tom Morowitz is here. I think I probably already said Tom Morowitz, but anyway, we like Tom. So anyway, Tom tweeted at me this week. Raj is here as well. Yeah. What did I say? Oh yeah, Tom tweeted concern at me this week because he wanted to make sure that I was not in one of the wildfires, but I'm not. I'm perfectly safe, and I'm on the Gulf Coast of Texas, so we're pretty safe. Victor, hello, Victor. I think Kevin has broken the Victor share screen. That's probably one of the reasons why he can't join the show right now. I'm going to go and check the messenger to see if he has. Yeah, he has not responded. He has not responded after that. But we were supposed to have a guest tonight anyway. But there was a problem. There was a problem, as there is sometimes problems. I had the dates mixed up. So next week, Dr. Marwa Glover will be here. So that will be fun, as always. So I literally don't have a guest tonight, and Kevin is gone. So I may actually draft somebody from the chat room to come in and talk to me until Kevin shows up, and have a conversation about vapey stuff and about politicky stuff, maybe about pronoun. I don't know. Grammar's important. So yeah, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing while I'm over here opening windows and links and closing windows and links? I see there's people here. Oh, Richard said okay. So guess what? Let me close a window over here because Spotify just decided to open up on my computer. I don't even know why. I do know why. I have Spotify for podcasts. That's why it's on my computer. I'm going to the clipboard. I'm going to go over here to Twitter because I think that's the only place I can communicate with Richard because I don't do Facebook anymore very at all. I'm going to scroll down to Richard Pruin. If I can find Richard Pruin, I know I can find Richard Pruin. And I'm going to send Richard the link because Richard and I could have a wonderful conversation about what's going on with Richard. Come on, you silly ass computer. There we go. And then Tom says he's drunking. I don't know what drunking is. Are you literally drinking so badly that you can't spell drinking? Let's paste the link to StreamYards into Richard. And now Richard has the link. Richard can show up. And yes, words do matter. Words do matter a lot, homicidal. Sometimes I have some, issues, but mostly it's at least understandable and accurate. Let me scroll back up here. There we go. Later I will. So you're admitting that you're drinking so much that you're going to purposefully drink yourself blind. Is that what you're saying to me? I see that. Tom Morowitz is going to drink himself blind. So I'm going to open this story that Kevin sent me because he wanted to talk about it, and since he's not here, you and I will talk about it. If it actually has, you got to request a link. Why, Kevin? I have an issue with Kevin sending me links to science that doesn't have the full text. It drives me crazy, guys. That's apeshit crazy. Quit sending links to science without an actual full text. I want full text from now on. Somebody buy me a membership to all of the different scientific websites so I can read the studies. That's what we should be making the sponsors pay for, but we can't get a sponsor right now, so close. I had a sponsor. What? Somebody help me. This is crazy. There we go. Better. So I don't know who Hannah Cox and Brad Palumbo are, but apparently they run a website, a news website that is full of ads. Literally, look at all these ads. And it's called Based Politics. So we know that it is immediately going to be, it's based. You know what that means? It's probably not trustable. But since Kevin sent the link, let's see what it says. The media's vaping alarmism had lethal consequences, new study shows. In case you needed another reminder why you shouldn't outsource your thinking to the establishment media. Yeah, this is definitely... So this is by Brad Palumbo, who apparently is I'm not disagreeing with him, but this is a far right-wing political website. People are naturally skeptical, and again, I'm pretty conservative, and I'm kind of scared too of some of these far right-wingers. But anyway, people are naturally skeptical and even scared of new technological innovations. Unfortunately, the establishment media has historically leaned into this irrational apprehension rather than served as a check against it. As Robbie Suave has detailed, every major technological innovation in the last 150 years, from radio to the bicycle, has been met by media hand wringing about the supposed threat it poses to society. So there's more advertisements. E-cigarettes and vaping have unfortunately received similarly hysterical media treatment, and a new study suggests that the media's vaping fear-mongering may have had lethal consequences. Here are some example headlines from the New York Times and CNN. Mysterious vaping illness that's become an epidemic. Vaping now an epidemic among U.S. high schoolers. I can't stop. Schools struggle with vaping explosion. Juul e-cigarettes and teens health problem of the decade? ? Are you scared yet? If all one read was mainstream media coverage, I don't like when people use like the term if one, they're referring to a person as one. I don't like if all one read was I should say if all you read was mainstream media coverage. of the rise of vaping, you think it's a deadly addictive trend that's hooking teenagers and killing people off by the thousands. That is true. You'd also happen to be wrong. The great panic over vaping illness and vaping deaths in 2019 was exhibit A of the media's myth-making. While tragic, these deaths and illnesses were used to stir up fear over vaping, almost exclusively turned out to be related to black market THC products, not legal vaping products. Again, true, but again, you have to always weigh the truth against the source, and so far so good. This is a crazy far right wing news thing, and I'm pretty crazy, and I am far right wing, but not that far. I'm sort of middle right wing, just But anyway, Richard's here.
Hi there.
I saw you. Did you get a haircut since I last saw you?
It's because I've got bedhead because I've been lying down, I think.
Well, it is like what, 3:00 there or something like that in the morning?
3:23, yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty good at guessing times. So how you been? What's going on?
Oh, not too bad. The usual stuff. I actually spent today, I had to take a break from the THR fight, just because it was starting to get to me a bit. So I ended up spending the day taking some engines apart and stuff.
Hey, working with your hands, getting your mind off the shit that's driving you crazy. That's good stuff. I might do something similar. I might paint, or I might get on the computer and design stuff. But whatever it takes, man, because there are a series of podcasts that I've seen. Whether that was the Inco recent webinar about stress, and
yes.
And then I saw, I think I even saw Kasa doing something about that too. Probably all in cahoots with each other. So yeah, you got to do whatever you got to do to get your mind right, and to get your focus back, because otherwise, I can easily jump down the rabbit hole and lose my brain.
Oh yeah, I was starting to come out with a bit too much snark, which is something I try and avoid because it does kind of set people on edge a little.
Is that my problem? Because I have a lot of snark.
I don't know. I mean, if that's what you're trying to do, I suppose, yeah, that's fine. But I was trying to be,
pleasant,
reasonable enough, not telling lies or anything, sort of firm, but reasonable. That's my kind of take on.
As you get agitated, my volume goes up.
Yes, that's the problem I was having.
My skin tone gets redder.
Yeah, that's the one.
The veins up here start to poke out. And people start saying that my eyes turn green. I personally have never seen my eyes turn green, but
if they start glowing, that's the time to worry.
Well, if they glow, I'm gonna become the Hulk or something, But so our topic is always, when you and I speak, the few times that we've spoken, is always about our problems and nicotine. I know that if I say depression stick in front of Skip,
oh good grief, don't do that. She'll go.
But I, and recently, when we were showing the embedded advertisements over the last 4 or 5 weeks, the native advertisements of the same bullshit over and over again, I know that drives people crazy and anger, because we see it now. We see it, and we're like, why doesn't everybody else see this nonsense? See that they're getting the wool pulled over their eyes, and that this is nothing more than social engineering or brainwashing, or whatever term you want to use, because that's what they're doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've even started getting them when I'm in the UK.
Oh yeah, didn't you know that the America has exported the youth epidemic to the UK now?
Oh yeah. Of course I do. It's been in random papers here, there, and everywhere. I mean,
suddenly popcorn lung is over there now. I see headlines in the UK papers for popcorn lung and the youth vaping epidemic, and I'm like, man, they finally caught up. I was worried that the guys were going to be behind and not enjoy all the fun.
It kind of had to spread, basically. I mean, it's being pushed so hard. How can it not? And I don't know, but there seems to be an extra hard push going on right now to just throw everything they possibly can at vaping, because I don't know why every so often they seem to do this. They just all start jumping up and down and crawling out from under their rocks, and
I'd be surprised if PAVE didn't have a chapter in the UK now.
Not that I know of, but I mean, I'm sure they're trying. It hasn't quite got to that stage where that sort of thing would probably happen here.
All it's going to take is one British Karen.
Yes, although they're few and far between here, thank goodness.
It only takes one to start. I know, it's like a virus, man.
Yes, and there's I mean, I've had contact from some people I've spoken to who actually write for newspapers just recently, going, did you know about this? And some of that is quite scary. Some of the information that they're being fed by the sort of news aggregators. I mean, it's down to, somebody somewhere is seriously pushing this stuff.
Well, I mean, Bloomberg's media arm. I'm sure that they're writing checks. They're still pushing their Empower acronym that the.
Oh yes, that. And one of the few places that signed up for that was Turkey, and if you compare their stats to the rest of Europe and most of the rest of the world, they're actually doing worse. So a lot of good that did.
Yeah. But they're not looking. I mean, if Bloomberg was like really measuring how much money that he's spent versus how much benefit or success he gets out of it, his dollar spent to actual works done, it like he's disproportionately spending money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure that the people in Truth Initiative and Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids are actually pretty sure to keep him fairly insulated from what the stats actually say. I'm sure he's being fed a line by them, and because he obviously pays a large percentage of their funding, he trusts them, and I think that to some extent he's not maybe quite as evil as we think he is.
I think he's gullible.
He's being fed a line, basically.
Yeah, 1.1 billion.
Yeah,
1.1 billion. And don't let this fool you. I mean, it says tobacco use, and you see a lot of smoke talk here, but literally the vast majority of their money is going to anti-vaping messaging. Kevin and I did a search less than a year ago or so, looking for anti-smoking messaging internationally, and there were a few internationally. There was none in America. None. Not a single print ad or anything that we could find in the last 5 or 6 years. Everything has been spent on vaping here. Now, I did see a couple UK health services. Was it?
Yeah, I mean, unlike the US, we still have a youth smoking problem here, because e-cigs haven't actually taken off
because
among the youngsters as much as they have in the States.
Yeah, because the kids, their parents are doing it. They don't want to do it.
But
that's not cool. Mom and dad are doing it.
The whole marketing to youth by all the anti-groups and the FDA and the reverse psychology reversed on them attitude towards vaping in schools, we haven't had that here, and kids see vaping mostly as a tool for their parents to stop smoking, like you said. They're not looking at it as a cool new thing that all their friends are doing.
Well, I mean,
until the panics sort of arrived here just recently. But most of it's, to put it bluntly, bullshit, because there's a school just up the road, a big school, and I've posted this to Twitter. But there's an alleyway by the side of my garage, and the kids hang out in there, smoke their cigarettes, drink their cans of beer and cider, and they throw the fag ends, or cigarette ends, and the beer cans on my garage roof.
That could be problematic.
Well, yeah, the beer cans are a real pain in the neck because they actually get stuck in the gutter,
the rain gutter,
block everything up. Yeah, and
so
the stale beer that when
you should scare them.
Well, I put up a CCTV camera because they were throwing stones at my mum's car. So when they get drunk and Larry,
those Brits are kind of rowdy kids.
Well, yeah, if they've been drinking, if you have...
When I was a kid, when I was drinking, I never wanted to throw cars or rocks at people's cars.
Yeah, but it happened once or twice, and the only thing you can do is put up a camera and try and catch them.
Yeah. But when I was a kid, if my parents were doing this, there's no way in hell you could have forced me into this. There's no way. I mean, obviously, this is a pro vary, so I wouldn't have been able to afford this when I was a kid, but they're hard. They're even more expensive now than when I bought this damn thing. Can't find them anymore. But I just see that, and I think we've talked about this before, but they beta test stuff in different places. I say,
yes.
I joked with Paul that they were beta testing the prescription model in Australia, and they're doing plain packaging. They're trying all these different things in different countries to see what sticks, and whatever the most successful stuff is what they're going to test out in other areas to see which works, which is a normal experimental procedure or scientific experiment in different and see which one works the best, and that's the one you use.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that they've got the resources to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
Whereas
we don't have any resources.
We don't have resources to do that kind of thing, to try different things out in different places.
Well, no, I mean the industry itself here, at least in the States, is we're not allowed to do any experimentation or testing because we're not allowed to change the stuff. Once we're not allowed to have any innovation. So whatever safety features were in this device in 2015, that's all you can have because you can't make a new one. They get to test all sorts of stuff and see what works. We're not allowed to do shit.
I mean, that's one of the things that drives me around the twist, even in the UK. I mean, we've got standards, which means that things can evolve. But it does, to a certain extent, bolt things down to a bare minimum. And a lot of companies will only go for the bare minimum, and they'll just say, well, the standard says this is all we've got to do. So we won't actually, put anything into improving safety or, looking after the consumer.
Right. I mean, there were people. I mean, there were companies that set themselves up. They spent $50,000 on ISO labs, even though they knew that if they were going to go GMP, it probably wouldn't be that high of a standard. But they did it anyway because they wanted to be able to provide the cleanest and best product available. And then there were other guys that went through food handling class and decided that was how they were going to make their e-liquid, with some stainless steel tables and some sinks, and go that route without actually going through the whole actual scientific lab preparation model. Because FDA would never say, like, we suggested that many times. I mean, we had an agency here, an organization here, not an agency, AMSA, which was the American E-Liquid Manufacturers. I don't remember what SA is, but I mean, they wanted to, get the industry involved in a standards system, so that we could show that we were responsible. I mean, it was expensive. It was. I'm not going to lie. It was expensive. But if we had done that, if every company that produces e-liquid had done that, we may have gone a different route. There's a lot of those things that we can look in the rearview mirror and say, well, if we tried that then, we may have been in a different place than we are now. But you know what? You can't go back in time. It's fun to look at the rearview mirror and go, well, if we had it over, we wouldn't do that. But it's too late now. So all we have to do is look at the road we have in front of us and figure out a way to traverse that and provide, well, I don't provide shit to anybody because I don't make anything, but you get the idea, is that the industry should be as safe as possible.
Yes. And on the whole, I mean, the UK industry, up until, the illegal disposables really haven't done us any favors at all, because they're not compliant. They don't have to be, so they're just shipped over in bulk from China, and trying to stop them is pretty difficult because they look the same as legal spec vapes. And to open every package would be ridiculous. They cause some issues, and those seem to be the ones that are the few kids that are starting to use them. That seems to be the ones that they're using.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and the public image. I mean, this is what, if they find one kid in the UK that is vaping like a fiend, that is just chain vaping or whatever, then that's the poster child. That they're, oh, look, there's one kid, there's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. It's going to spread. It's going to spread. Whether it ever does or not, that's all that matters, is they have somebody, they have a little kid that they can put on a poster, they can put on TV, they can, pull out in front of Parliament, do all the things that they need to do to make everybody else suffer. And I mean, that's literally what they're doing. I mean, here in the States, I mean, I played the video clip at the beginning of the show of the lady from FDA saying, we know that kids are going to experiment. It's because kids are kids. I have video of one of the founders of PAVE, their kid going up there saying, you tell a kid not to do something, he's gonna do that thing, so they openly admit that kids are kids. Kids are going to experiment. Richard, you did it. I did it. I'm sure that David and Raj and Mallory and Tom and Omicidal, all those people in the chat room, they did it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what got me to start smoking, was seeing somebody else doing it, and the fact that I had asthma, and for whatever reason, the first puff of cigarette smoke was like, this was pre decent inhalers, mind, and Ventolin was a new thing, and it came as a powder in a little capsule, and the inhaler, you had to sort of twist it and break the capsule, shake it to get the powder into the air, and then trying to inhale it when you were having an asthma attack, it just wasn't feasible. But the first puff on a cigarette, and it was like, oh wow, this works.
Yeah.
So my start to smoking was a bit different to a lot of people. But
I actually have a cousin when I was a kid who was scary asthma. Like he would go to the hospital.
oh yes, I had
scary asthma, not just a little wheeze. Like he.
Oh no, this was proper stuff. I mean, I'd quite often get taken out of school to the local hospital and sit there for 3 or 4 hours wired up to an oxygen bottle.
And he was the worst chain smoker I ever met as an adult. Like he grew out of it. I guess that's one of the things is you grow out of it.
Yeah.
And like he is at one point 3 or 4 pack a day guy, and I'm just like, I couldn't fathom it. I didn't have anything wrong with my lungs, so I didn't, other than the fact that I was a smoker. But I wasn't the one that was always like getting rushed off to the hospital. And here he is a couple years later, and he's smoking 4 packs a day. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I used to smoke 50 to 60 roll-ups a day.
How do you roll that many? I mean,
well, you do them sort of 10 at a time, and then you just go through that 10, and then you do 10 more.
I'm glad I was never in the situation where I had to do that, because I would lose I am so like lack of attention focus sometimes. I don't think I could sit at the dining room table and roll cigarettes for an hour at a time. And I had friends here in the States that did that at one point about 15 years ago. That was the thing to do, like to save money on cigarettes, was to buy the filter, the pre-rolled cigarettes, and then you had a machine and you put tobacco in it and you did something and it backfilled the cigarette or whatever. And I'm just like,
sleeves.
I actually just imported them from Sweden.
Yeah.
Until for about 2 years, I did that until a couple packages got seized at the border, and then I got put on a list. And then every time I imported anything, whether it was a comic book or a DVD or whatever, I would open it and there would be a little slip in there saying, "We opened your package to make sure that it wasn't contraband."
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Then I had
the same
to stop.
thing happens here. You get a letter saying, "This package contains stuff we didn't want you to have, so we've seized it." And now you're on a watch list, so don't do it again.
And I'm already on enough watch lists. I don't need to be on another one.
Oh,
but
yes. Well,
I think I'm gotten. The last package I got from overseas was I got a thing from Fast Tech full of squonker bottles, like a gross of squonk bottles, because I was worried that I would run out and wouldn't be able to get any anymore. So I ordered a big package of squonk bottles for my bottom feeding mods, which I haven't even used in a while. I don't know. It's one of those things like, oh, I don't have that. I better order a bunch of those and then go, why did I order those?
What do I want those for anyway? I mean, it's like some of the mods I've got.
At the time, Richard, it was very important that I order them. And I have 3 squonkers over here that have dust on them because I haven't touched them. I need to clean them and set one of them up, I think, just so that I'll feel better about myself.
Yeah. I mean, I somewhere I've still got a mod that everybody used to call it looks a lot like the Doctor Who sonic screwdriver. It's sort of a chrome thing, and it all lights up blue.
Oh yeah.
It goes up to an atomizer frying 11 watts, which at the time was a lot.
That's a lot back in the day, man. I can remember when everything was low res was 1.2 ohms, and you put that on something, you could crank it up to like 4.5 volts.
Yeah.
And
it was the low resistance cartomizers.
Yeah, that was the shit, man. But which doctor did the sonic screwdriver? Which one? Because they all have their own sonic screwdrivers.
Oh, crumbs! It would be the kind of longer chrome one that lights up blue. with it came with an atomizer cone that was kind of thinned and
but you're not enough of a Doctor Who fan to be able to identify their sonic screwdrivers.
No, I used to watch it when I was a kid, but
it's very popular now.
It was good, except for maybe the Daleks and the Cybermen were.
It hasn't been good since Tom Baker left.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the recent ones, but I've not really been so into it. As a kid, I used to watch it every Saturday.
If you're a Whovian, I'm sorry, but the last good Doctor was Tom Baker. Sorry. But anyway, so I was reading this article, and so far it has been very accurate, but it is from a far right-wing news website, which is embarrassing because when they identify themselves at the top of the page as based politics, that's worrisome to me. And I don't know who these two people are. They could be very good journalists for all I know. But when you say that you're based, that's worrisome to me because that means that nobody is going to take you seriously. Even though everything that I've read in this article so far has been accurate.
Yeah.
So, they're specifically identifying E-Valley and that almost exclusively turned out to be black market THC products, not legal vaping products. Well, none of them, as far as I can tell, were legal vape products. Even, we're talking about language here, but the vast majority of people that tested positive for this E-Valley were underage people anyway. So they were not legal vape products because they were in the hands of the people that shouldn't possess them. But none of them were nicotine vaping products, is what.
And I don't, what was it? 98% of people that they actually tested had vitamin E acetate in their broncho, in their lungs when they actually took samples.
But you and I know if they tested and found any lipids in their lungs at all,
it didn't come from nicotine vaping, no, because it's not possible.
Right. And I didn't get into, but I did see there about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a heated argument on Twitter about whether or not THC oil was dissolvable in VG.
And it simply isn't. It's simply not possible to do that. The laws of physics are such that cannot happen.
Right.
Unless you do really, really strange, tricky things like sticking loads of sugars onto the THC to make it actually soluble in water.
Right.
But then you change the molecule significantly from what it was before.
So I stayed the hell out of that conversation because there was actual scientists in there. There were people that had credentials that were arguing the point with someone who had no credentials, who was making the claim. And I was dumbfounded at the how people, like, if you and I are having a discussion and I recognize that you have the authority in that conversation, I'm not going to try to win my point back by just, doubling down on inaccuracy.
No, that's not a good look. I mean, that's the way we catch out the people we're fighting, is that they don't actually have any science on their side. When people in the vaping community start doing the same thing, that's not a good look. But,
if we cannot be factual in our statements, even though our opponents never are, then we're no better than them.
No, exactly. And that's the only advantage we've got, because they've got a louder voice, more money by far, and they've got reach into places that we frankly don't have.
Right, but if we're out here spouting inaccurate stuff and we say it louder, like, we try to amplify our voices as much as possible. So if we amplify inaccuracy, we may feel better because but at some point they're going to go, look, here's a lie.
Yeah.
Here's a lie they just said. Oh, here's a lie. So their entire argument is no longer valid. And, the right, respectable, reputable person stand up on stage and hold up our lie in the right audience, destroys our entire thing.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
that domino goes over, we're done. We will never be able to win back the people. And that's the only way we win, is by winning back the people. So if we don't win back the general public, and we spout nonsense and BS, it's like when I see somebody post on Twitter that vaping is safe.
Well, no, that's not strictly true.
No,
but
it's not. And the moment we say that and we adopt it in mass, then they're going to say, look, they lied. They lied. Yeah. Look, they're saying that's 100% safe. And no, we have to equivocate. We have to be correct and accurate and say, no, it is absolutely safer than smoking. Absolutely. That's all we need to say. It is safer than smoking. This is harm reduction, not harm elimination. We have to be completely above board and accurate. We can say nicotine is beneficial to some people because that is the science. The science says is that everybody has different receptors and different magnitudes in their brain. Some people have higher levels of nicotine receptors and they benefit greatly from nicotine. Whereas people like me, I apparently don't have the right amount of THC receptors in my brain because marijuana does not do shit for me.
Oh, no, nor me. I don't know why, but and I've tried CBD and it just makes you a bit drowsy. That's it. Nothing else.
I went to college, I did the whole college thing I had the full college experience. Yeah. And that meant, as the FDA admits, that kids experiment. I experimented. All of my friends are like flopping around like fish and, just having a ball. And I'm over here going, this is boring as hell, dude. This is not give me the whiskey because I can do the whiskey.
Yeah.
But I sadly am not that person.
But THC, CBD, nothing. Nicotine, you give me nicotine and the whole world changes as far as I'm concerned. Like the amount of focus and the fact that I can actually have a conversation. I'm on my second 50 milligram nicotine pouch of the hour, but when I just took it out a second ago because it was getting the second one's a bit much if you leave it in for the full hour. But,
is it burny? Does it get burny?
No, more that you start to get, the stimulant effects become a little bit too much, and you start to sweat and get that kind of. But certainly 1 and a bit 50 milligram nicotine pouches, and I can actually have a conversation with you and seem joined together and focused without having to take nasty amphetamine type drugs that have bad side effects.
Oh, speaking. I was talking to a friend, and their kid was just recently diagnosed, and they put him on the chemical cocktail of all the different stuff. And I said to my friend who was the parent, I was like, "Did you look at the labels? When here in the States, when you buy prescription medicine, they're required to give you an educational monograph on the medicine that you're taking."
Yep, exactly the same here.
The vast majority of people do not read those. They don't. They trust the doctor.
That's much the same here as well. Yeah.
And
as much as they try and wrap them around the tablets so you can't take the tablets out without taking the little leaflet out, most people ignore them.
And I said, do you know what that ADHD medicine is? Or ADD medicine is? And he was like, no, the doctor just told me. I was like, we need to sit down and have a discussion about this medicine. And he said, why? I said, because they're giving you a lot of stimulants. There's meth derivative medicine in there. And as soon as I said meth derivative medicine, what? I was like, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. Adderall is literally mixed amphetamines.
So, you need to make sure that you're quite comfortable with that cocktail of pills that they're giving your kid, because it is going to change them.
Yeah, that's the whole thing I like about nicotine, is it actually doesn't do a lot of the bad things that the amphetamines do, and it doesn't mess with your appetite, your sleep, make you kind of more anxious than you were before. If anything, nicotine actually gets rid of the anxiety, which is one of the problems that I have as being autistic as well.
Yeah.
Anxiety is a thing that comes with autism, and amphetamines make that worse.
Yeah. I mean, this is the top 9 most popular.
Yeah, that's the one I've prescribed, is Adderall XR.
Concerta, Dexedrine, Evakio, Focalin, all of these. Look, amphetamine, methylphenidrate, which is methyl. Yeah. Amphetamine, dexmethylphenidate. Yeah. Every one of these is a meth derivative, or just regular old amphetamine. You don't even have to. It's not even derivative. It is a meth. This is amphetamine right here. Boom, boom, boom. And this is what you're giving your kids when there are better ways to more gently handle this situation than to fill your kid's head full of cotton, mute their world, focus. You can find other things that will lend focus. I mean, I am not telling you to go slap a nicotine patch on your kid, but you know what? That might help.
I find that more effective than the amphetamines, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's me personally, though. But that's one of the things.
But,
there are studies where they have done that. They have put nicotine patches on, and it had a great difference.
It had a beneficial outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And they note in at least one of those studies that there were less undesirable effects and an improvement in mood as well,
without all of the personality adjusting software, the stuff. Because especially if you are like Kevin's kid, or you that have other diagnoses like schizoaffective paranoid schizophrenia.
I'm paranoid schizophrenic. I've no problem admitting that.
So
and I have to take antipsychotics every day.
Yeah, I probably need to, but I have the OCD. Prevents me from doing things, but I'm also a germaphobe, so that helps. But yes, all of the meds, every one of the schizo meds, every one of them changes who you are, changes how you interact with the world, changes how the world feels to you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't lie about that. They do, all of them. I'm luckily, I've got a doctor who understands and has let me kind of pick and choose out of the available ones to find one that is the least disruptive to me.
Right.
And I've got, as a PRN, which is an as-needed medication, a heavy-duty antipsychotic, which I can take when I need to. And I know when I need to. And it's not an issue for me because, and my doctor trusts me to know that I need to take it and to take it when necessary. And that was a struggle to get that, because their psychiatrists tend to be of the opinion, oh, well, we'll just take it anyway.
Yeah.
All the time, because
there are plenty of pill pushers in mental health. I mean, there are people that can cope with the world with just counseling.
Yeah.
That don't need chemical, adjustment. That don't need maintenance meds. That just need somebody to talk to. And that's great. We need people that can do that.
Yes.
And we need people that are, reasonable when it comes. I mean, I've seen patients that have 15 to 20 prescriptions. And I'm just like, how does your body, how does a single circulatory, or how does a single circulatory system filter all of this in 12 hours? How?
Yeah.
It is crazy.
It is.
And, Marcellus brings up a point, watch cable TV. It's all drug ads and drug lawsuit ads. Here. Now, in other countries, those ads are not legal.
No, I mean,
they can't do broadcast advertisement for pharmaceuticals in Europe.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, I have friends that come here and watch TV in America, and they go, what the hell is this? And it's pharmaceutical commercials.
I mean, the time years ago I went to Chicago, that was one of the things that surprised me, is just the amount of adverts. They seem to be about every 10 minutes, whereas in the UK, they're kind of limited in how often they can appear and how long they can be. In the States, it was obvious that there were more of them, and they advertised. I mean, and I think it was not long after Viagra had been discovered, and every other advert was Viagra or similar.
Cialis or
yes, yeah.
And it's always that they always have to figure out a way to do a metaphor for penetration during those commercials. So there's one with a football player, John Elway, and he's throwing a football, like the whole time he's talking to the people, he's being the spokesperson, and he's got a football in his hand, and at the end he throws the football, and there's a tire swing hanging from a tree. And the football goes through the center of the tire swing. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They just had to throw in that metaphor for penetration. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, it is amusing to see some of and they occasionally appear on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think they just sort of slip through this is only supposed to appear in the States. And and it may also be because I've got a block of.
Could be that
I've got a 64 of IPv6 addresses, and they're mapped because they're provided by a company in the States. So it might appear to YouTube that I'm in the States and I get all those adverts. But they are, when you actually look at them, they're not allowed to say very much at all, but they manage to somehow come up with metaphors and similes and ways of
imagery.
Saying things that, putting images into your brain. And being autistic, I see right through that straight away because I process. So all my social cues and everything, when I'm looking at people figuring out their facial expression, that's all processed in my conscious mind because I don't do it automatically. So I have to be watching for that kind of stuff. And that means I do notice when they try, when they pull stunts like that. And yeah, it's absolutely something else. Some of them, the kind of conniptions they go through to not say the things they have to not say, but to get the point across. It's and most people, you look at these adverts, and most people, you think their brains process this automatically, and they don't even notice. And it's like, okay,
how are you missing this?
Yeah,
how are you missing this?
Yeah, talking about the antipsychotics as well. One of the things I attend, and I actually do some voluntary work for them, is Bristol Autism Spectrum Service, which is an NHS-run drop-in sort of centre for autistic people. And it's really good because you can go along and you can be as autistic as you damn well like, and nobody will care. You can be, you can just let go of all the mask and the social pretenses and the, putting on fake facial expressions, the whole works, and you just forget about that. And you can just go and sit there and talk to other autistic people, or just have a cup of coffee or whatever. And, attend they do a mindfulness meditation in a cinema with the lighting turned down, and it's just a nice thing to go on, even if you don't interact as such. It's nice to
not all socialization is active.
No.
So you can be in the community and still be like separated from the community.
Yeah.
And still absorb
you're still
the togetherness. I have obviously there's a lot of people that have social anxiety disorder that want to be communal people, but have to find their distance. They have to, obviously, I have a space issue. Like, I personally don't, I'm not a hugger.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Don't
not
get
a
in my
toucher,
personal space unless I let you know.
You stay over there. Like, my wife is allowed in, but other than that, you guys, you guys gotta, I see you. Hi. Stay there. And there have been people in the chat room, and there are people that will come up to me at an event back when we had those, and that knew and still came up and tried to give me a hug. Doing it just to drive me apeshit crazy.
Yeah.
When you see me bolt towards the restroom to wash.
Yeah, I absolutely understand, because I'm, basically the same. I mean, that's another perfect, trait of autism is don't touch me. I'm really sensitive to touch, and certain textures, and also there are things which are like, I'll wander around with no shoes on given half a chance, just because I don't like socks and shoes on my feet. It just doesn't feel nice.
And see, I'm the opposite. I will put shoes and socks on the moment I step out of bed. And my wife is Asian, so they don't want you wearing shoes in their house.
No.
But yes, that's the weirdness. I have an anti-foot thing.
No, I mean, that's one of the things, and again, autistic trait, not wanting to wear gloves, shoes, have, even the labels on clothes can be annoying to autistic people, just because
it's touching you. And it feels like, I get that all the time. I rip those out. The ones, my new t-shirts have the label printed on the actual inside of the t-shirt, so you can't feel it. Tagless tees or whatever.
Yes.
But when you buy a dress shirt and it has the tag over here on the side.
There's usually two. There's one in the collar and one down here.
Yeah.
And the one in the back is just nightmare.
Yeah, that's when you have to do a little bit of work for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And it's and unpick the stitches and Yeah, but you have to do that because otherwise it'll drive you crazy. And other people don't see that. They just go, "Well, it's just there."
Deal with it.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, it's just not something you can do.
Feels like something. It feels like somebody's stabbing me right now.
Yeah.
And you want me to deal with this? You don't realize the amount of crazy that I have in me that will rip this shirt apart if I don't cut this tag out right now. And when you're at a restaurant, and you're sitting there doing this, and you're trying to, yeah. I've been there. I feel you.
Yeah, that's why I really love this autism spectrum service in Bristol, because you can drop in and you can have conversations like that, and everybody understands, or at least has an inkling. And you can go in and they do, a mindfulness meditation session aimed at autistic people. So they've got the lighting right. It's in a cinema, so it's comfortable. It's not awkward and at a desk or something. You're actually sat in a comfortable seat in a nice environment. It's all tiered so you can see what's going on. Yeah, things like that. It's just well thought out, and it's just a nice thing to go along to.
I actually have a tactile stimulation box here from when I was a pediatric therapist, with like over 100 different textures and hardnesses, bristles, different things, and you just lay them out on the table and you let the kid come up, and they will
see.
They will touch the felt, they'll touch the bristly brush, they'll touch all these different things, and you'll find out which one they gravitate to. And which ones are annoying to them, which ones are noxious stimulation to them. So yeah, I mean, I get it.
I mean, there was another one which this was a tactile garden, and it was again at a reasonably big psychiatric hospital, and that was actually part of the assessment procedure, was to get people to walk around this garden, and it's literally got paths, and you can't help but brush past the plants. It's actually designed that way,
right?
And they've got all different, from soft velvety leaves to grasses to I mean, one part of the garden that next to nobody apparently even people take one look at it and just go nah. They've even got stinging nettles, and they've got gooseberry bushes, and they've got oh crumbs, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a common plant that you plant in landscape gardening to deny people access to areas.
Oh, snake plant. It's like sharp, stabby.
Yes, yeah. I mean, basically, it looks and is so sharp and spiky that nobody in their right mind would wade through it.
But then you look at something like an aloe vera plant that looks sharp and spiky, but it's squishy and full of wonderful healing aloe. But yes, I get what you're saying. Yes, you have like tomato leaves that have like a velvet to them. You have wrinkly, coarse leaves like a kale and different things. And
all of those.
It's the same. Yeah, I've seen similar things here.
Dock leaves and comfrey was the one that everybody seemed to gravitate to, which is have you seen maybe that's a UK thing, but comfrey plant it's got long kind of dog's tongue leaves with like a really, really, really smooth, almost like puppy fur kind of really soft texture to them.
So
and that's one that people gravitate to.
All of this conversation is just to let everybody in the chat room, understand where all coming from different places. And Richard and I both use nicotine to help us. I'm sure there's people in the chat room that are in the same position that we are. Skip uses nicotine to help her. I can guarantee you, each and every one of you in the chat room get some calming effect, some sort of focus effect, some sort of just mood altering effect, calming effect out of
course. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't take nicotine. The people that can just give up smoking at the drop of a hat are the ones which nicotine does nothing for.
Yeah, cold turkey people exist because they're, that percentage of people that don't have the same amount of nicotine receptors in their brain, because there is biodiversity and everybody is different. And this is why we always, when talking about harm reduction, whether it's this or drug policy or any other situation, we have to meet people where they are. And we're the only ones that are talking about this.
Yes.
Which is stressful to me. Charlie, obviously, is out there tooting the horn. We're here we're the only vape show that talks about this kind of thing, because we're the only ones that have this experience.
But we get it because we live it.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people it wouldn't even cross their mind. And Dr. Gardner's a great example, because he does actually say that he doesn't actually understand, because he doesn't have the problems, but he does listen. He does take on board what we say.
He always says, I am not the one that should be saying this. Like I have video of him saying, I'm not the one that should be talking about this because I don't experience this. But it is what it is. Troop is here. Hello, Troop. Late to the game, but the only one I watch. He says this is the only show that he watches. I don't know if I believe you or not, but that's okay. I'll take that.
One thing I will say about nicotine is there are a few people I know who have got schizophrenia and other psychotic kind of disorders. And I would say, from my own experience and the experience of other people I've talked to, nicotine can it doesn't get rid of voices, but it does actually, in a way, kind of damp them down, make them less intrusive somehow.
Well,
without getting rid of them completely.
Yeah, no, it's not going to do that. But what it is going to do is it's going to allow you to filter them out. You're going to,
that's
it lends you the mental focus.
Yeah.
So that you can just push them away and say, okay, you're there, I got you, but I don't have to listen to you because I can focus. And when you have
that's probably the best way to describe it. Actually, it gives you a chance to take a slightly different perspective at them, and acknowledge that they're there and go, yes, thank you very much, but I know you're not real, so I can just put you to one side and ignore you. And you can kind of reduce the anxiety that they provoke as well, and all of those things. And it's a subtle but important effect. And lots of people that have schizophrenia smoke for that very reason, and use nicotine if they don't smoke. Having gone through and seen as many people who smoked with schizophrenia turn to vaping and or nicotine pouches. But 90% of them will say, you could never force me to give up nicotine. If you take the pouches and the vapes away, I will just go back to smoking because I need it. It's not optional. That's why this depression stick and all these campaigns drive me around the twist, because they're turning the thing completely 180 degrees from where it should be, and they're blaming nicotine for causing issues that it actually helps to solve. It's just, I mean, it drives me completely scatty.
Well, and it's like I have patients that that say, "Oh, well, I take melatonin to put me to sleep," and I'm like, "No, melatonin does not put you to sleep. Melatonin allows you to adjust the chemistry. It actually fosters a focused brain. What it does is it tells your brain, cool it.
Yeah.
Removes all the, it doesn't remove, but allows you to push back against all of the clutter that's in your head and allows you to relax and go to sleep. I have taken it before. And it's just you go to the naturals aisle and get your vitamins. Oh, there's melatonin. You can get melatonin.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
That's been a thing for years. And that's why for a long time it was traditional to have a hot milky drink before you go to bed, because milk contains melatonin, because it calms the child or the baby or the foal or calf or whatever.
Yeah. So H just posted a tweet just now, and the headline says, this is from the Washington Times, by the way.
Yeah.
It says, "Nicotine is not the devil. Cigarettes are." And I think that people should be able to make their own choices, Richard. Yes. If they choose to smoke, then that's their choice. At some point, they're going to realize it was a bad choice, and we have to have safer alternative products out there for that day. Absolutely. When they make that choice. You can't force people to do stuff. Human beings, I always say Americans, but human beings in general are rebellious creatures.
Yes.
If you tell us no, well, what do you think we're going to do? But
look at black markets of any kind, which are created by prohibition of anything. That just makes a certain, and it is a certain proportion of people want to do that thing, because they literally go, well, if it's banned, then what am I missing?
Yeah, I got to do what I want to do, and I want to do that thing you told me I couldn't do. So yeah, but this is an op-ed, and it's written by Dr. Jasjeet Aluwalia. So it says here, 30 years ago, as a young public health researcher and professor, I would begin my lectures by telling the students that 480,000 Americans die from cigarette smoking every year, making it the leading cause of preventable death. Now, I asked this question sort of as a snarky question last week, Richard, but I said, do people get lung disease and heart attacks that don't smoke?
Yeah, of course they do.
So are the 480,000 Americans on this list here? Are every one of these people that smoked, or are they just including everybody that has lung problems and heart problems on this list?
Well, the UK statistics, having dug into those, I can't say for the American ones. And this was several years ago that I seriously looked into it and actually requested all the information from the MHRA regarding adverse events of reported through the yellow card scheme for vaping and everything. And yes, literally they record the death as lung, heart, or whatever disease on the death certificate that goes on the smoking death statistics.
Yeah. So it says, sadly, 30 years later, I still begin my talks with the same fact. In those 30 years, 15 million Americans have died unnecessarily from cigarette smoking. To change this trajectory, it is time for the FDA to embrace bold new thinking, including offering smokers safer nicotine-containing alternatives. Not very low nicotine cigarettes, by the way. It's almost impossible to comprehend that 15 million people have been lost over the last 30 years due to cigarette smoke. Too many of us.
Can we do VLNCs a bit as well? Because I actually got some and tried.
Because I made a smart ass comment. So yeah, go ahead.
I got some and tried them. And my opinion changed dramatically from that trial. Initially, I was kind of nonplussed, as in, well, if it helps some people, yep, fine. Put them on the market. Those it helps, even though it's very few people, yeah, no problem. Then I tried one, and that is a product absolutely guaranteed 100% designed to initiate people into smoking. I could not put it, I have to put it that way because that's exactly how the experience hit me. As somebody who's vaped for 15 years, my doctor now says my lungs are indistinguishable from somebody who did not smoke. So exactly the same as non-smoker lungs, VLNCs are so smooth, so non-abrasive, so utterly benign feeling, that has to be a smoking initiation product. It is cigarettes with training wheels. There's no other way to look at it.
You and I are old enough. When we started smoking cigarettes, they were
regular
old full strength cigarettes. You smoked that first cigarette, you wheezed, you coughed, you hacked, you tried to catch your breath, then put it back to your lips. You take another lungful. You're hacking still. You hack. You go through the first 4 or 5 cigarettes, and finally the cough is gone.
Yes,
the cough is gone.
Yeah, but, there's absolutely not one iota of any of that.
Yeah, so some people will smoke that first one. They'll turn green. They'll throw up, and they'll never smoke another cigarette.
Yeah, well, that isn't going to happen with those VLNCs.
With these milder, kinder, gentler cigarettes, they won't do that. They're going to smoke that first cigarette. They're not going to cough. They're not going to have a scratchy throat. They're not going to have all the same problems that we have. They're going to go, these aren't bad at all.
I mean, there is zero throat hit. None. If they were targeting it at smokers, they would do the same as vape manufacturers did and put throat hit enhancers in. If they were targeting it at anyone but non-smokers, they would have done lots of things to make it a more smoking-like experience.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to sit there and go...
specifically designed the product to be absolutely non-abrasive to the lungs. I mean, or the throat, or the mouth.
They're still abrasive to the lungs. They still have all the other tars.
Oh yeah. They're actually, when you look at the results of tests, slightly more deadly than normal cigarettes.
Yeah,
there are, there is data out there which shows that actually their effects on, I know it's cells in culture, so it has to be taken with a pinch of salt, but they are more dangerous to cells in culture than regular cigarettes, and that has been noted. But yeah, the company that designed those, you cannot possibly tell me that they are not designed as a smoking initiation product.
No, they and their PMTA, they have to prove that they're not targeting new people, that there will be no new product initiation. And that's like saying we're going to chest x-ray every customer before they can buy a pack of cigarettes so that we can see that they're already got smoker's lungs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I called the FDA blithering idiots because I couldn't help it, because how they ever let those things past with a modified risk, it's just insane. There's no way they couldn't have noticed. And the fact that they tested them on underage smokers and all sorts, somebody must have told them, look, this is the smoothest cigarette I've ever smoked.
Oh yeah. I'm sure they did market research. They did beta testing. They had focus groups, all those things to test out their product. I mean, every product on the market goes through similar systems. But yes, I mean, it is, to me, and I've been saying this since we had Dr. Glover on the show the very first time 2 years ago, before these were on the market. I mean, obviously people were talking about them. And I said, this is going to make people smoke more cigarettes. You can't change my mind. And I am still saying the same thing. Now that you're telling me that the experience is even milder.
I mean, I was kind of half and half, literally, when I was literally on the fence, saying, well, it might help some people, so it could be okay. Now I have completely flipped over to your side and said, no, this is not a good product in any way, shape or form. It's literally designed to get people to smoke.
And see, for my satisfaction as a person that likes nicotine and wants throat hit, they needed to do the exact opposite for me. They needed to amp up the nicotine and reduce all the other crap.
Yes.
But no.
And the other thing on note as well is it gave me that kind of happy feeling that when you first start vaping is the missing bit from cigarettes, that is the bit that makes you want to go back to cigarettes from vaping. Because I have a feeling that those things have got, if not the same amount of monoamine oxidase inhibitors, if not more.
I would love to have enough money to pay a scientist to do that testing.
Oh, absolutely. So would I. I mean, I would love that. And it's only my personal experience of one. But, I had this strange kind of, and it's hard to describe I've had prescribed monoamine oxidase inhibitors, so I know what the effects are. And it's a strange kind of effect because it's a little bit like what morphine does to you for pain. It kind of takes you away from the pain. Well, MOIs kind of do the same for stress.
Right.
It kind of takes you away from the stress. It gives you a weird kind of floaty feeling. And I got that big time from those. And they may not have nicotine in them, but they've certainly got other stuff.
I'm sure that
I guarantee they didn't take that out.
I'm sure that most everybody knows what an MAOI is, but just to, for specificity and for people that are listening that maybe don't know, here I'm at the Mayo Clinic right now, and the Mayo Clinic says that MAOIs were the first type of antidepressant developed. You go down here, they're effective, but they're generally been replaced by other antidepressants that are safer and cause fewer side effects. MAOIs typically require dietary restrictions, blah, blah, blah. They increase your blood pressure, yada, yada, yada. They ease depression by affecting chemical messengers used to communicate between brain cells. So yes, they adjust your brain chemistry. Again,
yep.
They are, they're there to remove dopamine. They're there to adjust your serotonin, norepinephrine. They affect your neurotransmitters.
From what I remember looking at some of the studies, they most strongly affect dopamine and serotonin. That's only from memory, though. But serotonin would make sense for feelings of happiness and things, and so would dopamine, because that's reward pathway.
So they're essentially they're a happy pill.
They key into your reward pathway.
Yes,
the same as amphetamines do, the same as cocaine does. So, it's not a new thing.
But again, they're allowed to have a certain amount. There is a threshold that the FDA has implemented that and I'm not a conspiracy person. I'm not saying over here that British American or any of the other Imperial Tobacco, any of these companies are grinding up MAOIs and powdering your tobacco with them before they make cigarettes. But
no, they're not. What they're
naturally,
doing is they're using
the process.
They're using
creates
natural extracts of plants, and I'm trying to think. One of the ones that surprised me was it was some kind of stone fruit extract, which imparts a sweet flavor, and they say it's there for flavoring, but also when it's combusted, it has strong monoamine oxidase inhibition properties.
Yeah, but the FDA allows during testing. They allow
there's something like
certain
7,000 different additives are allowed in cigarettes.
Well, but they specifically allow a certain amount of MAOI to be in that cigarette.
Yes.
Like it is something that they are aware of. They test for it. They make sure that it is within a certain threshold. And as long as the cigarettes are there right at the top of that threshold, but not going over, that's fine. And again, if a cigarette contains that MAOI, it increases the pleasure of the combustion. Of inhaling the smoke. It makes it feel better. So Richard says that he tried a VLN and he felt that same sensation from the VLNs. So now I went 22nd Century to test and tell me how much MAOI is in a cigarette.
I mean,
what is the dosage that I'm getting from smoking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10? I want to know.
Well, of course, if it was a vape manufacturer, they would be obliged to test for and publish those results in the UK, certainly, because they have to do testing for exactly what's in the inhaled vapor. Whereas cigarette manufacturers don't have to do that.
But is MAOI on the list of things that you have to test for?
Yes, it would come under psychoactive substances, which are not allowed to be in electronic cigarettes. So they are technically banned. If you were to try and put them in there, they would show up on the either GCMS or LCMS spectrum, and people would ask questions. Like me, I'd look at the spectrums and go, are there any peaks on there that aren't identified? And if they're not identified, can I look up and find out what they are? And quite often there's water on there which they don't generally bother to identify, because I guess most scientists look at it and go, oh, that's just water, so what?
But you don't, so you want to know. But
I actually looked at it and went, well, what's that peak that they haven't actually labelled? And it turns out it's water. Oh, wow. Not a problem, obviously, but I have actually looked at the spectrums that come out of the testing and gone, wonder what is actually in here. And basically for e-cigs in the UK, there are spectrums on file for the actual samples of inhaled, the vapor as it would be inhaled by a standardized vaping machine. So they're all comparable, and they try and reproduce realistic puff conditions and things. So they're at least standardized. So the results would be the same every time, etc., etc. As far as these VLN cigarettes go, I'd love to see an analysis of exactly what's in those, because the other thing I wonder about as well, having sampled one, is the maybe nicotine-related chemicals, the precursors maybe, or metabolites that by engineering the tobacco plant to block the enzyme might actually be present in higher quantities because the plant goes, oh, I'm going to turn this into nicotine. I can't. So nicotine-related chemicals could be actually lurking around in quite high quantities.
What happens to pre-nicotine molecules in the human body?
Well, I have tried to find out because this is one of the thoughts I've had, and there are enzymes, and if I'd had a chance to prepare, I could have, but it's cytochrome P something, which might actually complete the synthesis into nicotine. Very probably, from my limited knowledge of liver enzymes.
Yeah. So
it looks very much like it would actually cleave the same things that the plant would to actually turn that into a psychoactive drug which would fit into nicotine receptors.
Right. So organic chemistry, if you are on the edge of what's the word I'm looking for? All of a sudden I couldn't.
I mean, I'm a hobbyist, organic chemist, so
right.
I have some knowledge,
but if a process is about to happen,
yes,
if it's imminent,
yes,
it's going to happen, and something prevents it from happening.
Yes, that's what they've done to the tobacco plant to stop it having nicotine.
Yeah, in nature,
they've literally said the enzyme that finishes the process off will delete that from the genome, so the tobacco plant can't turn the precursors to nicotine into nicotine. But there are plenty of other enzymes in the human body that would go, oh, that looks like this molecule should turn into this. Let's do that for you. Oh, whoops, it's nicotine.
Self-service.
Yeah, it's called a prodrug.
Yeah. So that would be interesting also to see if 22nd Century had done that research as well. Because just because we thought of it, some smarter person has probably thought of it. And they may have had, cigarette companies did a lot of experiments that they never publicized.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
I mean, you would have thought they would have had to have done something along those lines, just to get a PMTA.
Well, not only that, but in the lab, when the scientists came up with the idea of stunting the process, I mean, that's essentially what they're doing is they're stunting the growth of the plant. They're genetically modifying the plant and halting a natural organic process.
And they've done it in a kind of a slipshod sort of way because they've literally deleted one single enzyme.
I don't believe you, Janine. If I can understand this, you can understand this because you're way smarter than me.
From what I believe, they've literally deleted from the plant's genome the enzyme that finishes the synthesis of precursors into nicotine.
And we already know, because Jeff Goldblum is a genius, Jurassic Park, he says, nature will find a way.
Right, life will find a way.
Or life will find a way. But yeah, it will find... See, you're already correcting me. You're almost as good
I looked
as my normal co-host.
I mean, I looked at one of the liver enzymes, which, funnily enough, acts on lots of drugs in the same class, being caffeine, nicotine, amphetamines, and a few other
all the fun
neurotransmitter related drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So all the fun stuff, cocaine, some of the psychedelics, that's why you can get in trouble mixing drugs, because you overwhelm this enzyme and it just goes, I can't cope anymore. And that's why you get toxicity. But yeah, this enzyme does look to me, from my limited experience, like it could actually complete the synthesis of the nicotine precursors into nicotine, or something, so similar to nicotine that it'll actually fit in the receptor. Maybe nicotine with a few other bits hanging off of it, because the plant enzyme hasn't cleaved those, but they may or may not make any difference. I freely admit I'm not good enough as a chemist to be able to look at it and go, that would definitely work or definitely not work. I can look at it and go, that looks eerily familiar and looks like it would slot into a nicotine, superimpose it over a nicotine molecule, and it's got all the same bits in all the same places, except for a few extra bits hanging off here and there. And they may stop it fitting in the receptor. I don't know. But
I mean, you remember when Eliana was on the show and she had the nicotine molecule, and she showed it how it processes or how it breaks, and you get precursor ethyl alcohol and uric acid and niacin or nicotinic acid.
But before that happens, the precursors are kind of a more complicated thing,
right?
With extra bits hanging off.
Mm-hmm.
And to get it to the point where the enzyme that breaks down the nicotine could get hold of it and break it down, you have to knock some of those extra bits off.
But normal biological processes are probably going to pull off a carbon molecule or pull, they're going to do it.
And a methyl group here, and and
it's gonna do what it needs to do
to
process that. Your body has to process it. It's not just going to pass through your system. So your body will adapt. If you just
excreted it in urine, it would take forever to go away. Yeah. So yes, it has to be broken down so it can be put into small enough bits to be excreted. Yes. And to do that, I don't see how the enzymes involved can avoid turning it into something nicotine or nicotine-like,
right?
To actually get the molecule into the shape that the enzyme can then get hold of and break down. It has to turn into something that would fit into the nicotine receptor, or would very probably fit into the nicotine receptor.
Right. So the first time your body encounters this, it's going to send everything that it has to try to connect and do what it needs to do. Your body's going to try to figure it out. They're going to find which key fits into what spot to break that part off.
Yeah. And taking off little bits stuck on the side are easier because the molecule fits into a pocket, and then the enzyme actually just yanks that group off of the outside. So if it's something stuck on a benzene ring like a methyl group, the benzene ring will slot into the receptor, and then there'll be an active group which grabs hold of the methyl group and breaks that bond, and then it's no longer attached. That's easy. The body has lots of enzymes that will do that.
And then once your body figures that one puzzle, once it figures the Rubik's Cube out the first time, then it knows how to handle that every other time.
Yes.
Now, this is layman's talk here. We need a real chemist to come in and talk to us about this. But,
and I'm trying to desperately not to end up deep in the weeds here.
Right. Well, you brought up VLNs.
Yes.
So that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And
we can sit here for hours talking about it.
I want to make it perfectly clear that, I've looked at it and it looks to me like it might fit into the nicotine receptor, but I don't actually know. And it would need somebody with more knowledge and experience than me to actually say for sure. But from the effects that smoking that thing had on me, I'm worried big time.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Is there anything new on the nicotine wiki, the safer nicotine wiki?
The VLN page is being updated, regularly.
But in
it pops
general,
up in.
I thought there was server stuff going on last week or something.
No, that's this week. I'm actually going to have to update the operating system from 32-bit to 64-bit, which is a fairly serious change, which is going to take the site down for at least a few hours, because I literally need to flush out the old operating system, install a new one, and then put all the data back, which is big work.
If it's down, if you go there and it's down,
when I did tweet out on the Safer
Richard's
Nicotine wiki,
working on it,
but it's something that needs to be done, because the 32-bit version of the operating system is no longer as supported as I'd like it to be, and the 64-bit version is faster, better supported, and gets security patches quicker, which is kind of important that we upgrade to that.
We don't want somebody taking our wiki down.
No, that happened once already, and obviously I had to beef up security significantly, but and people are constantly trying, which is annoying, but you just have to put up with. I don't know. It's just, I just see it now as
hackers. Those kind of people that do that sort of thing, they want to put a feather in their cap and say, "Look what I did."
Yes.
You want to take something down that has attention. You don't want to take something down that nobody's looking at. I mean, or that
it's surprisingly busy. The site. It gets
but we're seeing it. That's what I'm saying is that I'm talking about like a big website like the New York Times or Time Magazine. Big super high traffic. You want to take those down. You want to take Amazon down. You don't want to take down Safer Nicotine Wiki. I mean,
no,
that's not a bragging point. Like that's not something that a hacker is gonna get, unless you work for Bloomberg, and Bloomberg says take that site down because they're embarrassing
There have been some concerted attempts. I mean, there was a concerted attempt at a distributed denial of service attack some months and months and months back, which didn't work, but they had a pretty good go, and they kept it up for some considerable amount of time. Now that costs money because you have to hire out bot networks on the dark web and all sorts of nefarious sort of stuff to do an attack like that.
And they're telling us that we're bots. That's not right.
Yeah. And the hacking attempt, some of it is just what I would call internet background radiation of just people going, oh, what's this? I'll have a go at hacking it. But some of it does seem to be concerted effort. There was a bunch of Chinese IPs a few weeks ago that tried doing various kind of.
It didn't really matter when you mention hackers and you say what country they're from. Most of the time, they're not. They're for hire people that get hired on the dark web from.
I mean, that's why I say Chinese IPs. It could be anybody. Yeah. But it was a concerted effort, and they were trying some relatively clever stuff, like trying to back off security protocols and negotiate lower, hackable ciphers and that kind of thing, which, somebody put some thought into it at the least.
Yeah.
It didn't work, but
they tried.
They had a pretty good go.
It's testing your skills, sir.
Yeah. And I got caught out once by having a user account on the machine that wasn't actually anything to do with me. It was somebody else who was using it, and it was something guessable.
You all right?
It's those, yeah.
You get the Corona, that VLN cigarette giving you the cough now?
I don't know, it might be because it was the last one I had, because I had another one. I don't know why, it just seemed like a good idea.
It's a slippery slope, my friend. It's a slippery slope.
Was about a day or so ago. So yeah, my lung cilia are probably just about starting to kick back into action by now.
Your lungs were like, dude, we had you all the way back to non-smoker, and then you smoked 2 cigarettes. We're gonna get revenge.
4.
4. So yeah, your lungs are gonna get revenge on you now because you.
Yeah, and to top that off, I had coronavirus a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just like, oh.
I've been lucky.
So I've actually.
Where's my wood here? Knock on wood. I'm lucky. I have not gotten it yet.
Okay. The time I had it before the vaccines came out, that was truly horrible. Since I was vaccinated, it was not any worse than, a medium flu. But the first time round before the vaccines and stuff, yeah, that was truly horrible.
Janine says that she's masking. Good for you. Get your N95.
Yeah.
Bless
I'm going
me.
to have to run away soon.
That's all right.
Like
we had a good
5
talk.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
so
you should go to sleep.
I'm flagging a bit now.
Yeah. But I got this article to finish reading anyway, Richard.
Yeah, of course.
So you can hang out if you want, or you can buzz
off. No, I'll stay for a little while, but
let me finish
reading.
Yeah,
I was just going to give you advance notice. Really.
Yeah, well, we're already at 2 hours, so
yeah,
no big deal. So we already got to safer nicotine-containing alternatives. So anyway, it's almost impossible to comprehend that 15 million people have been lost over 30 years to cigarette smoking. To many of us, these people are nameless and faceless. In fact, the majority tend to be people of color, those from lower socioeconomic statuses, those with dual addictions, those co-occurring mental health disorders, those without voice, those people we were just talking about.
Yep.
The Historical Tobacco Control Act, passed in 2009, was supposed to be a tipping point and set the stage to save millions of lives. Unfortunately, it has not lived up to that promise. Many of the FDA's initiatives, like graphic warning labels, are stalled in courts. Other FDA proposals will likely take years to play out. The menthol ban has yet to occur, even though it was first considered in 2011. And while FDA has finally proposed a ban on menthol this year, that too will likely be delayed in courts, though I think that will be a losing battle for the industry. Another recent proposal by the FDA to establish a maximum nicotine level in cigarettes will likely not produce the results FDA wants. The concept here is to establish a cap on nicotine in cigarettes so that they are no longer addictive. This is not a new idea. 28 years ago, scientists proposed establishing a nicotine threshold for addiction. Since then, we have learned that a lot more about nicotine and have conducted additional studies using reduced nicotine cigarettes. In fact, one company, 22nd Century, is test marketing a reduced nicotine cigarette called VLN, very low nicotine. To date, sales have been modest. That is not surprising, as such low levels of nicotine will significantly alter a person's experience. It will also, if we accept that a smoker primarily uses cigarettes for nicotine, then it's hard to believe that smokers would buy a product that does not meet their needs. One might conclude that it is good. They would then likely quit smoking cigarettes. Is it that simple?
No, it's definitely
it's not
that simple. No.
While I tend to think the tobacco industry often exaggerates the black market concept, in this case, I think it is a very real concern. And who would use these black market cigarette products? People of color, people of local economic populations. There would likely be a robust nicotine market that is not regulated, not taxed, and possibly adulterated. To make real and meaningful progress in addressing the tremendous toll of cigarette smoking, it is critical that FDA authorize lower risk nicotine products such as e-cigarettes and nicotine pouches, alongside a portfolio of approved smoking cessation medications. The problem, Richard, is that there has been no substantial innovation in NRT products in 25 or 30 years.
No, and we need all the products on the market and new ones, nicotine pouches, anything that works, anything that stops smokers smoking is a good thing, because smoking is the problem. Nicotine isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm. And when I clearly remember when Scott Gottlieb was giving his speech on the continuum of risk, which this next paragraph addresses, he specifically talked about innovation in NRT and new products in smoking cessation. Has that happened since 2017? No. So it says here, in 2017, Scott Gottlieb, the FDA commissioner,
it must be time to go, because my computer's actually started to wonk out now.
All right. I'm going to finish this
I don't know if the video's gone weird at your end, but it's certainly gone. Okay.
You look like somebody's trying to scramble you like porn channels when I was a teenager.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to disappear then. I'll catch the rest on the replay.
All right.
Because I'm
Going
seriously flagging now.
Be good, Richard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the chat. And I will catch you again.
Later. So anyway, thank you, Richard Pruin, for coming on and being a good Ed McMahon, a good, side guy. You got to have somebody to sit there and, bounce conversation off of. Otherwise, it's boring. But anyway, in 2017, Scott Gottlieb, the FDA commissioner, along with Mitch Zeller, the director of FDA's CTP at the time, acknowledged the need for FDA's approach to tobacco regulation to consider the continuum of risk for nicotine-containing products. For example, e-cigarettes or vapes and nicotine pouches are increasingly showing that they help people quit smoking. While these products are not safe, many believe they are significantly safer than combustible cigarettes. Anybody with a fucking brain believes that. Just as public health has embraced harm reduction concepts for opioids, alcohol, and other public health areas, condoms, seatbelts, I have an entire list of harm reduction things. We must embrace it for tobacco products too. Sadly, while FDA acknowledged the importance of tobacco harm reduction, that does not seem to be the direction the agency is moving. We actually have video of an FDA spokesperson specifically talking about their entire focus has been on abstinence only or prevention messaging instead of talking about harm reduction. And she specifically said, we have not addressed that at all. So they even they acknowledge it exists. They acknowledge that it's a shortcoming of their messaging, and they still do it. So today, 3 million American smokers use Juul. What message are we sending that these 3 million Americans should smoke cigarettes, switch to other e-cigarettes that may also receive the same marketing denial order in a few months? It may be hard for many to appreciate, but nicotine is not the devil. Cigarettes are. When nicotine is combined with cigarettes, it joins the devil. As renowned researcher Michael Russell famously said, people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar. And that's not like asphalt tar. That's total aerosol residue. It's supposed to be an acronym. Anyway, I implore policymakers in the FDA to remember this. To be the voice for vulnerable populations and to truly embrace the concept of reducing harm, alternative nicotine products may be the game changer we have needed to save lives. Isn't that the story we want to tell the next generation of public health students 30 years from now? This is Dr. Jasif Luwalia, one of the 5 non-federal employees of the Surgeon General's Interagency Committee on Smoking. So this is an actual 5 non-governmental employees. So there are apparently 5 citizen members of the Surgeon General's Interagency Committee on Smoking, and he's one of them. And he's saying it's time for us to to embrace harm reduction. Great. Do that. But anyway, how is everybody doing in the chat room? How are you doing? Did you enjoy the conversation with Richard? I enjoyed the conversation with Richard. But since Kevin is apparently still experiencing technical difficulties, he's dangle clanking or having difficulty, we may just go ahead and close out tonight. It's 11 p.m. We've done a 2-hour and 7-minute show. We've enjoyed it. We have not been entertaining, and I can actually chill out here and be fine. See, Bastard just showed up, so that might be the signal that I needed to just say goodnight, everybody. We'll see you in 7 days, because Kevin's gone and Richard had to go, and we had a good conversation. So I have provided you with 2 hours of entertainment tonight. We had some science. We had talk about neurodiversity and nicotine. So let's just do that. I can go get a beer. I can turn on a DVD and finish watching what I was watching before I started the show. I was actually watching Transformers, the movie. It's a good movie. And just say I love you and I appreciate you, and come back in 7 days. Maybe Kevin will have his computer fixed by then. Maybe I will have had my spa day and I won't look like this. I will look prettier. I really want to be pretty for you guys. I want you guys not to have to look at the face, the especially I need to get should I color my beard? Like, it's getting grayer by the minute, I think, But anyway, bye. And Janine says that she's going to watch RuPaul. Go ahead, watch RuPaul, and try to be good people. Just try to be better at life. And we'll end tonight with vape madness. How about that? Love you. See you in 7 days.
Must be stopped. You and all other school parent groups about the country, and you must stand united on this and stamp out this frightful assassin of our youth.
Recipe for disaster that's fueling outright addiction. Look what they're trying to do. All the delicious flavors of e-cigarettes are poison. Today, right now, it would appear the wildfire of e-cig use among teenagers, high schoolers, middle schoolers, has not let up.
Just think, if your kid was doing this and winds up with an IQ 10 or 15 points lower than he or she would have had.
They shouldn't be experimenting with the entire American public. What we know is these products are addicting millions of kids.
Dr. Carroll, as principal of the Lakeside High School, did you, during the last 3 months, notice any changes in the demeanor and attitude of your student, William Hopper? Yes, in a number of things. For example, at times disassociation of ideas. In another instance, I happened to attend the recent interscholastic tennis matches, and while Bill Harper had been considered an exceedingly good player, I saw him miss the ball by as much as 3 or 4 feet. This, I understand, could be attributed to the use of
e-cigarettes.
It causes errors in time and space.
No child should be using any tobacco product. We are going to be taking action very soon, enforcement action.
Well, then, although you didn't know to your own knowledge that the defendant was using
e-cigarettes,
did you notice any changes that would lead you to believe, as an educator, that he was under some severe mental strain, which might possibly have been induced by some drug?
One thing I find that, teenagers and college students are interested in, cigarettes and e-cigarettes are kind of like anti-Viagra.
Oh, by the way, Dr. Carroll, 6 months ago, what would have been your opinion regarding the character of my client? He was a fine, upstanding American boy, a good scholar, a good athlete, and representative of the caliber of young men We are proud to do it from our school.